Charlotte, 2008. A dimly lit hospital room. Ivan Dixon lay there, slipping away quietly. No stage lights, no applause. Can you imagine it? The man who brought tears to theaters in Nothing But a Man, who made Hollywood take notice, now forgotten in the shadows. He turned to directing not by choice, but because there were no roles left for a man who dared speak the truth. A friend once said Ivan got a warning. Don't talk too much, or you'll disappear. That warning, like a shadow, followed him his whole life. Ivan Dixon, star, director, challenger, what was he hiding behind those calm eyes? Who or what pushed him down? A buried secret, or a story no one's told? Stay with me. Ivan's life wasn't just a light that faded. It's a mystery, waiting for you to uncover. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Lived in Others' Shadows. Ivan Dixon was once called the soul of black theater. But can you imagine? In his final diary, he wrote only of darkness. Not stage lights, not applause, just darkness, like a companion always lurking behind him. Harlem, 1931. A small apartment, walls stained, the smell of burnt bread from the kitchen. Ivan Dixon was born in the heart of the Great Depression. His father, a grocer, left before dawn. His mother, mending clothes till midnight, fought to keep the family together. Harlem was the cultural heartbeat of Black America, but the darkness here wasn't just the night. It was the scornful glances, the jeers from passers-by. Ivan grew up running through alleys, watching neighbors evicted for unpaid rent. In the shadow of tall buildings, he came home to a place where fear waited to swallow him. A friend said young Ivan would sit in the library, reading W.E.B. Du Bois, eyes lit up like he'd found light. At school, he shone in plays. But once, he was denied a lead role. An old friend recalled Ivan overhearing the judges whisper, "He's talented, but Harlem's no place for big dreams." That rumor, unconfirmed, may have been the first wound carved into his heart. Ivan enrolled at Lincoln University, an HBCU, where he began dreaming of the stage. But Harlem's darkness followed. A teacher said Ivan would stand before a cracked mirror, practicing lines, his whispers echoing off damp walls like a reminder of Harlem. The wind howled outside, blending with his voice into a lonely symphony. During rehearsals, he'd quietly touch his pocket, where he kept a crumpled note that read, "You don't belong here." That darkness, like an uninvited friend, stood behind him. And yet, something strange. A classmate said Ivan kept a diary, filled with dreams and fears. That diary, supposedly stored at Lincoln University, has a final page scribbled, "I'll escape this darkness, no matter the cost." A former professor kept it, but after a press interview, he suddenly refused all questions. Stranger still, a friend said some lines in the diary were smudged, as if someone didn't want them read. Was that a prophecy of the tragedy to come? That darkness wasn't just Harlem. It clung to Ivan, from alleys to college halls. And if that final page wasn't written by him, who wrote it? And what did they know about Ivan Dixon that we've never heard? Chapter 2. Broadway. The lights that hid the real man. Broadway applauded, but in the mirror, Ivan saw only himself, blurred, unfocused. Amid the glory, he felt erased. Can you imagine? A man center stage, crowds cheering, yet hearing a whisper in his heart, "You don't belong here." In 1957, Ivan stepped onto Broadway in The Cave Dwellers. The audience stood, but backstage, he stood alone, hand touching his pocket, where that crumpled Harlem note still sat. He'd rehearsed lines before Lincoln's old mirror. Now, before Broadway's mirror, He saw those same eyes, eyes that didn't believe the role he'd just played. A friend said he muttered, "They clap, but I know they don't really see me." His role as Joseph Assegai in A Raisin in the Sun brought him closer to the public. In 1961, he reprised it on screen with Sidney Poitier. Audiences wept. A critic called it the deepest whisper from the black heart. But off-screen, Hollywood wasn't kind. Producers wanted him to act softer so white audiences wouldn't feel uneasy. A colleague said Ivan stormed out of an audition, fists clenched, after being told to use a street accent. He wanted roles with soul, not stereotypes. And yet, something odd. A director said Ivan once backed out of a major role after receiving an anonymous letter. That letter was never mentioned again. Someone who held it stayed silent until their death. An industry insider said another letter was found in a locked drawer, where Ivan kept rejected scripts. That letter, never published, had a smudged line that, if you looked closely, read, "I tried, but they didn't want to see me." Was that Ivan's confession of what he faced? Every role was a battle. Ivan knew refusing meant losing chances, but he refused. A friend said he'd stand before a backstage mirror, staring, as if searching for the man he wanted to be. But those Harlem eyes never left. An insider said a producer spread rumors that Ivan was hard to work with, just for demanding respect. The rumors spread fast, like another shadow trailing him. The last time anyone saw Ivan at a mirror was when he turned down a lead in a major play. No one knows why. Have you ever wondered if he thought the applause was the world's way of refusing to hear what he really wanted to say? Chapter 3, The Hero in a Glass Cage, A Smile Behind the Pain. On screen, Ivan was a hero, calm, dependable. But off camera, he was the only one not smiling. Can you imagine? A colleague said he'd stand alone in a corner, sipping cold coffee, like he heard something no one else did. In 1965, Ivan joined Hogan's Heroes. His role as Kinchloe, a communications expert in a war sitcom, reached millions. He told a friend, "Sometimes I feel like I'm acting behind thick glass. People see me, but no one really hears me." Kinchloe was a step forward, a black character who wasn't a servant or criminal. But Ivan wanted more. He felt the role lacked depth, just a technician supporting white characters. A crew member said he suggested adding civil rights themes to the script. "This is comedy, Ivan," a producer snapped coldly. Each day on set, Ivan felt trapped in a glass cage. Crowds laughed on screen, but he stood behind that glass, watching silently. A friend said he carried that Harlem note, like a reminder of himself. But Hollywood didn't want that. They wanted smiles, scripted roles. A colleague said Ivan walked off set mid-shoot when asked to play funny in a way he didn't like. A crew member said, days before Ivan left the show, he got an envelope with no sender, just one line. "Don't make waves." No signature, no date. That letter, like so much around him, vanished. No one knew who sent it. No one asked more. But it was another shadow, following him through the studio's glass. In 1970, Ivan left Hogan's Heroes. The decision shocked many. A friend said he'd argued fiercely with the director over a script that demeaned his character. A fan recalled a scene no one remembers why, where Ivan stared straight into the camera. No lines, just a still gaze, then a smile, cold, steady, like he was saying goodbye to a world he no longer trusted. That footage, if it exists, might reveal his true feelings. But that glass cage between Ivan and his audience never broke. He walked away, leaving the laughter and stage lights. Was that smile? His way of tapping on the glass, reminding us that, though you saw him, you never heard what he truly wanted to say. Chapter 4. The Camera. Scripts locked behind a window. Ivan thought if he couldn't stand on stage, he'd tell stories behind the camera. But he soon learned. Back there, the light wasn't enough to fuel dreams. It only showed them, being choked. Can you imagine? A man, once the soul of the stage, now behind the camera, still trapped behind a window that wouldn't open. In 1972, Ivan directed Trouble Man, a vibrant blaxploitation film. He wanted to tell his community's story. The film succeeded, but the spotlight faded fast. A friend said Ivan sat in a small office, staring out a window, holding an unfinished script, as if waiting for something. Through a window he knew would never bring it. He directed The Spook Who Sat by the Door in 1973, a film about a black spy leading a rebellion. It sparked controversy. Weeks after release, it was pulled from theaters. An insider said the FBI pressured studios over its sensitive content. Ivan wanted more. A producer answered with one line, "No one wants to see that, Ivan." He pulled his hand back, said nothing. But that night, neighbors said his office light burned until 4 a.m, like he was trying to tell a story no one would let be told. And yet, something odd. A friend said Ivan once got an envelope with no return address. Just one line. Don't let yourself disappear. No signature, no postmark. That letter, like the script he was drafting, vanished. No one knew where it came from, but it was a warning from the shadows, trailing him through studio windows. Ivan kept directing TV episodes like The Waltons and Magnum P.I., but Hollywood's big doors never opened. The last time he was invited to a studio, they said Ivan stood by a window, script in hand, but didn't enter the meeting room. An assistant said he stood still, eyes outside, like he saw a shattered dream through the glass. That script, a civil rights story he poured his heart into, was never made. A friend said he kept it in a locked drawer, like a secret no one could touch. Was that script, now behind a dusty window, the words he never got to say? If someone opened that window, would we see the America Ivan dreamed of? Chapter 5. Charlotte, a light fading behind a foggy window. In his final years, Ivan didn't retreat into darkness. He chose a place with less light, just enough to revisit a dream that once burned bright. Can you imagine? A man who shook stages, now in a small Charlotte home, staring out a window, searching for himself. A neighbor said his eyes often lingered on the horizon, where city lights faded into night. In 2001, Ivan returned to Charlotte, North Carolina from Hawaii, his health failing. Diabetes left him tired, his steps slow. They said he'd sit alone by a window like he was writing a final monologue, with his eyes, not a pen. He lived quietly with his wife, Burley Ray, his partner for 58 years. A friend said Ivan often rewatched Nothing But a Man, the film he was proudest of. Each time the final scene played, his eyes lit up, but with regret. "I wanted to tell more," he'd murmur, touching that crumpled Harlem note still in his pocket. He dreamed of a documentary about black actors. A relative said he sketched ideas on old paper, his handwriting shaky. On his desk was an unfinished note, scrawled, "One man, one dream, a glass you can't break through." No one knows what he meant to write next. A friend said he'd sit for hours by the window, watching rain, like the drops carried untold stories. But his body wouldn't let him. And yet, something strange. Weeks before his death, Ivan sent a letter to a young producer. A friend said it urged him to not let Hollywood bend your dreams. The letter was never shared, but days before his hospital stay, a small package arrived. No sender, just a note. Keep your story. No one knows where it came from. It vanished after Ivan was admitted. A neighbor said the night before he left home, Ivan sat alone, staring out the window, muttering about untold stories. His eyes, through that foggy window, seemed to search for something no one saw. A relative said Ivan once remarked, "I did a little, but not enough." Did he say all he could? Or was he still telling? Through unread notes and glances through windows no one dared look back through? Chapter 6. The Blacklist. Whispers behind an iron curtain. Ivan Dixon wasn't just an actor. He was president of Negro Actors for Action, fighting for black performers' opportunities. But can you imagine? Every step he took, an invisible curtain seemed to drop before him. A friend once asked, "Don't you regret it?" Ivan just smiled. "I didn't disappear. I'm just behind a curtain no one wants to lift." The withdrawal of The Spook Who Sat by the Door from theaters in 1973 raised suspicions. An insider said the FBI monitored the film for its story of black rebellion. No one confirmed a blacklist. But oddly, after 1973, film offers stopped, along with the silence of directors who once supported him. A friend said Ivan got an envelope with no sender, just one line: "Don't let yourself disappear." No signature, no postmark. That letter vanished. A scholar once requested Ivan's files from Negro Actors for Action's archives, but after a call from an unknown number, he withdrew the request without explanation. Those documents, said to mention Ivan, remain unreleased. A friend said Ivan once declared, "They don't want me to win, but I won't bow." Those words, like a glance through a window, echoed in his small rented room. And yet, something unexplained. Ivan kept working, but only on small TV projects. An insider said he once stood by a studio window, script in hand, but didn't enter. As if he knew the curtain would never lift. Was he silenced by Hollywood? Or did he choose silence, knowing some truths, once spoken, leave no one at peace? Conclusion? A legacy, light buried in silence. The hospital room glowed all night. No cameras, no applause. Just Ivan, his wife of 58 years, and a secret he took with him. Can you imagine? A man who moved stages, now lying there, silent, as if his light melted into the dark. Ivan Dixon passed on March 16, 2008, leaving a legacy that can't be erased. Nothing but a man still screens in film classes. The Spook Who Sat by the Door became a blaxploitation icon. He earned 4 NUACP Image Awards, a National Black Theater Award, and the Paul Robeson Pioneer Award. But Ivan was more than awards. He paved the way for Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, and countless black artists. A scholarship in his name was founded at Lincoln University. Few know it exists. Yet his legacy is full of contradictions. He found fame, but was always held back. A star, yet a loner. Unread letters, unopened diaries, unfilmed scripts, classified files, all like unedited film, reels, waiting for someone to piece them into truth. A friend said Ivan would sit by a window, talking of stories he wanted to tell, but Hollywood didn't listen. His clues still haunt. The college diary with its line, I'll escape this darkness. The final letter to a young producer, unread. The buried script, maybe still in a locked drawer. The Negro Actors for Action files, hidden after a mysterious call. All pieces of an unfinished puzzle. An insider said Ivan once remarked, "I don't regret, but I'm tired." Those words, like a sigh through a window, echo through the years. His death wasn't just a man's passing. It was the loss of dreams unrealized. Was he punished by Hollywood for daring to challenge? Or did he step back to protect his dignity? No one knows for sure. Have you ever wondered if a man like Ivan stood on stage, but no one listened? What did we lose beyond the light?